Mother, you must cover my hair with flowers, a victory crown to celebrate my triumph, marrying a king. You must lead me to him, and if I don't seem overwhelmed at the prospects, take no notice. Give me a good shove, force me, by violence if you have to. Because if the god Apollo exists at all, then Agamemnon, the world-famous leader of the Greeks, will find me more destructive as a wife than ever Helen was. Because I'll kill him and destroy his whole family in return for my father and brothers destroyed. But that's enough, no more now. Some things are best passed over in silence. Why should I sing prophetic songs about the axe that will sever my neck, and some other necks too, or the son murdering the mother, or the total annihilation of the house of Atreus, all the rich fruit which the tree of my marriage will bear? Look, let me tell you, this city of Troy is far happier than the whole nation of the Greeks, and I'll prove it to you. Yes, I'm possessed, inspired, call it what you like, but for one moment let me stand outside this god-drunken ecstasy and speak as though my voice were my own. These Greeks, for the sake of one woman and one moment of uncontrollable lust, sent a hunting party to track down Helen, to smoke her out, and it cost them tens of thousands dead. And their oh so wise commander, to achieve what he hated most, lost what he loved most, giving up the pleasure of his family and children for the sake of his brother Menelaus his wife, who was not dragged away from her home by force, but ran away and was unfaithful because she wanted to. And when they came here, to the banks of Scamander, these Greeks, then they began to die, and they kept on dying. And for what reason? They weren't being robbed, they weren't being invaded, they didn't see the towers and battlements of their homeland being occupied. And those who became the war god's victims had forgotten what their children looked like. They weren't washed and shrouded and laid to rest by their wives' loving hands, and now their bodies lie forgotten in a foreign country. And things were no better at home. Their women died in the loneliness of widowhood. Their fathers became childless old men who had bred up their sons for nothing, to lie in a distant country, with no relatives to honor them and make sacrifices at their graves. Oh yes, the whole Greek nation has a great deal to thank their army for. There were other things, too. Terrible things. Things better left unsaid, not fit to be spoken by the tongue of a consecrated virgin. But our Trojans, what a contrast there! They won the greatest of all glories. They died fighting for their fatherland. And if an enemy's spear found its target and in a moment made a living man into a corpse, that man was carried from the field by his own platoon. The earth that covered him was the sacred soil of the land of his fathers. The hands that wrapped him in his shroud were the right hands, according to the customs of burial in our country. And those Trojan soldiers who didn't die in battle lived at home, spending every day with their wives and children, the simplest of pleasures, denied to the Greeks. And when you grieve for Hector, remember this. Listen to me now, because this is the truth. He proved in action he was the greatest of men. And now he is gone, dead. And all this has been the direct result of the coming of the Greeks. Supposing they had stayed at home, we would never have seen Hector's glory. All that brightness would have remained hidden. And Paris, he married the daughter of Zeus. If he hadn't married her, who would have sung songs in his honor in our palaces? Any sensible man must hate war. He does his best to avoid it. But if it should come, even if it should end like this, it is no shame for a city. Indeed, it is a crown of honor to die nobly, with dignity. The really shameful thing is to die dishonorably, ignobly, without pride. So you see, Mother, you need not pity our country, nor weep for my marriage. Think of those we hate the most, you and I, and be sure that by means of this marriage of mine, I shall destroy them.